space, and we were already studying about our environment, as you can see in this picture. So today we are going to study about the abiotic environment. Now what is abiotic environment? The abiotic environment constitutes of the abiotic components. And what are the abiotic components of the physical conditions? These are water, air, light, temperature, soil. Okay, so these are all the physical conditions we are going to study today in details. So let's move ahead. So at first we are going to study about water. So why water is essential for us? Water is essential for survival and growth. Water, we need water for many purposes, for our daily activities like cooking, washing, bathing, okay, for growing crops, also for good irrigation purpose. We also need water for watering our plants, watering our crops. We also need water for drinking. Okay, so that is the most important thing, that water is needed for survival and growth. Plant grows in water. Okay, so we as humans, plants need water for different life activities. Thus it is vital for all living organisms. Now where do we get water from? We get water from water bodies, mainly the rivers, lakes, ponds, oceans. Okay, and we also get water from rain, and main important thing, we get water from the ground, that is known as groundwater. Okay, now the water level is depleting day by day. That's why it is very important to save water nowadays. Now how can we save water? A very innovative way of water conservation is rainwater harvesting. So we are going to study about rainwater harvesting. What is rainwater harvesting? How can we conserve the rainwater? So in this picture you can clearly see that when it rains, collect that rain through our house top. Okay, so the rain or the water which falls in our house top, it can be collected in a tank. Now this tank water is connected with pipes that can flow into the other tank. Okay, now this tank water is impure. Okay, it contains many germs, many dust, and each and everything, many bacteria, many viruses, and all the microorganisms and many chemical constituents. Now this tank water can be purified in the second tank by the help of filtration. Now this second tank's water can be used for different household purposes. Okay, so in this way we can conserve rainwater. Now how to harvest rainwater? We can collect rainwater from the rooftop, we can draw it from the pipes, then we can filter that water, then we can store it in pump for later use, and then we can charge the groundwater through soak pit, and then we can leak the water in water, or this tank water can be again used for different household purposes. Is it clear? So let's move ahead. Now we are going to study about the second component, which is very important, that is air. Now what is air? We cannot see air, we can just feel it. Correct? Now what is it? Air is a mixture of several gases. Now what are the several gases? The main gases are oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide. So this is a important question. You can see here, what component of air gets used up during photosynthesis? So here we can see that air also contains many other gases, okay, like hydrogen, helium, methane. There are many gases air contains. Plus they also contains germs like bacteria, viruses, and also the dust particle. Okay, now sometimes we see there's so smoke and so pollution in our air. So why it is? Because the air contains dust particles. Now oxygen. So oxygen is the main constituent of air. It is a gas which is chemically known as O2. Okay, so it is used for respiration by the plants and animals. When the plants and animals respire, with the help of oxygen, they are breaking their food substances, complex food substances, into simpler forms. Okay, is it clear? Now next thing is carbon dioxide, that is CO2. So why CO2 is used? Carbon dioxide is chemically known as CO2. So CO2 is used for photosynthesis by plants. Now what is photosynthesis? If you want to know, then please do watch the part 1 video in this series. Now question is, which component of air gets used up during photosynthesis? So the answer will be, please let me know in the comment section. Now, this is a picture which is showing the composition of air. Air contains nitrogen that is present in 78%. That is the most of the part contains nitrogen. Okay. Now, it contains oxygen, it contains carbon dioxide, it contains water vapor and other gases. So, I hope it is clear. Let's move ahead. Now, we'll study about the third most important component, that is light. Now, what is the natural light? Natural light is sun. Okay, the sun is the ultimate source of light. That is, the natural light is also used in many purposes. Like it is used for plants for growth and to prepare their food by photosynthesis. If sunlight was not there, plants cannot perform this process, that is photosynthesis. Next is aquatic plant also uses sunlight as light can penetrate into water, that is light can go through into the water and light can reach the bottom. Okay, so aquatic plants also can use this sunlight, that is the natural light. Now, what effect light has, or what is the necessity of light? If there was no sunlight, then what would we do? So there would be no moon. Okay, as moon is a reflector, as moon reflects the sun's light only. Moon doesn't have its own light. Now, effect of light. What light has many effects in our or in each and every organisms. Now, this is that animals show variation in their behavior with the amount of light, as some animals are active during day and the others are active during the night. Now, there are some animals, that is a pigeon. A pigeon is, and all the birds are most active during the day. But name a bird which is active during the night. So the answer is owl. So owl is such a bird which is active during night because it cannot tolerate the sun's light. Okay, so animals show different type of variation. Some are active during day, some are active during night. Now, plants also respond to light. For example, sunflower always faces the sun. You can see here the sunflower is facing the sun always. So that is why it is known as sunflower. So temperature is measured with the help of a thermometer. Now, what is a thermometer? Thermometer is a clinical device which generally measures temperature. So when you have a fever, you always use a thermometer. So it measures temperature in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Okay. Now, temperature greatly affects the activities of the living organisms. That is, some can tolerate very cold temperature and they live in the cold regions. That is, the polar bear lives in the polar regions of the earth. Okay, and the camel lives in the hot and the very hot weather. That is, they can tolerate the hot sun. Okay, now some plants and animals grow in warm weather, whereas some in the cold areas. For example, polar bear and camel, as I have already shown you. Now, cows can tolerate hot weather in summer, whereas buffaloes cannot, because buffaloes are black and do not have efficient sweat glands. Hence, they feel the heat and cool themselves in water during summer. Now, this is a very important answer. You can find this question in your book. Now, here, this is a picture of a cow which can tolerate its temperature in very hot summer, but buffaloes cannot. That's why the buffaloes are always seen cooling themselves in water during summer. Now, this is a picture of a plant and this is a picture of the animal which are having their home in soil. So, 5 or the last component we are studying about abiotic environment, that is the soil. So, soil is another important abiotic factor. Soil provides home to different plants and animals. So, plants grow in soil and different animals are also found in soil. That is, soil provides shelter and home to different animals. Now, we are going to the next part, that is, what is the interaction in the other. So the interdependence of one organism on another can be described with the help of a food chain. Now, what is a food chain? The process in which the food energy passes from the producers to the consumers through different trophic level is known as food chain. The grass is eaten by the deer and the deer is eaten by the lion. So who eats whom? The deer eats grass and the lion eats the deer. So this way the energy is being transferred. What is transferred? Energy is being transferred through the help of food. So in the food chain we will always find the producers in the bottom level and the consumers in the top level. Okay, now see, here is the producer, that is the grass. Then grass is eaten by grasshopper, who is a primary consumer, or it is a herbivore. Now it is eaten by frog. Frog is a secondary consumer and it is a carnivore. Now frog is eaten by a snake, which is also a carnivore or a tertiary consumer. Now snake is eaten by eagle. So eagle is also known as the quaternary consumer, that is, it is the fourth grade of the consumer. So in this food chain we will always find the producer at the bottom level and the consumers at the topmost level. Okay, I hope it is clear. So this is an example of the aquatic food chain where the phytoplankton, that is the plant-like organisms, are eaten by the zooplankton, that is the animal-like organisms. Now animal-like organisms are eaten by the small fish. Now the small fish is eaten by the large fish. As the energy is transferred from one organism to another, it is known as food chain and it is transferred through different food. Now coming to the another example, here you can find of the food chain. You can take this example also. This is an aquatic food chain and this is a terrestrial food chain. Terrestrial means land. Okay, these animals are found in land and these animals are found in water. Now we'll study about the mineral cycle. So at first only I have taught you about recycling of minerals. So in the soil they grow, that is the green plants grows in the soil. Now the green plants are consumed by the animals. Then when the animals and plants are always dead, then they are decomposed into the soil and the microbes, that is the bacteria and the viruses, what they does, they always carry on decompose the matter, organic matter. They break down into simpler molecules and they transferred into minerals. Then minerals are again conserved in the soil. Now again the soil is used up by the green plants for their growth. So this is the interrelationships among different components of the environment through mineral cycle. I hope the mineral cycle is clear to you all. Now let's move ahead. So this is the nature, how nature helps in interacting of the living and the non-living components. Okay, during the process of respiration, the plants and animals both use the oxygen. Okay, they take in the oxygen and they give out carbon dioxide. Now this carbon dioxide is used up in the photosynthesis by the plants. Okay, now again this in the process of photosynthesis oxygen is produced. Now again this oxygen is used up in the respiration. So nature tries to maintain a balance between the oxygen and carbon dioxide. I hope it is clear. Now if you like this video, then please do share this video and thanks for watching.